Good afternoon and welcome to the November 18th, 2019 Parks, Recreation and Community Services Commission meeting. May we have the roll call?
Commissioners Babayan,
Present.
Eberly,
Present.
Kalfayan,
Present.
Michaels,
Present.
President Pro Tem Wolfson.
Present.
The agenda for the November 18, 2019 regular meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on or before Friday, November 15, 2019. At 2 is upcoming council agenda items.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Wolfson, members of the Commission. On December 3rd, we have two items. The first item is Sports Complex Field number 3, award of a professional services agreement to SWA for the planning of the renovation of field number 3. Second item is a workforce development grant, Foundation for Community Colleges of California, to add funding from DEA and Adults Program for Paid Work Experience. On January 14th, we have two reports, Joint Use Aquatics Program with Glendale Unified School District, and second report, Verdugo Park North Playground Options.
Thank you. Next is Commission staff comments.
No comments.
Any comments from? Okay.
Yes, President Pro Tem Wolfson, members of the Commission. As usual, I will go over some of our upcoming events, which we have several very interesting, exciting events coming up. First, Glendale's Holiday on Ice grand opening ceremony is this Friday, November 22nd at 3 p.m. behind City Hall. Tea Night Out will be offered on November 22nd and December 6th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Pacific Community Center. We will be offering a teen workshop that same evening on November 22nd entitled Community College or University at Pacific Community Center. We have a Parents' Night Out that same evening at Pacific Community Center from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. Another Parents' Night Out on December 6th from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. at Pacific Community Center. Our holiday tree lighting ceremony and Crema Classic Toy Drive will take place on December 6th at 6 p.m. in Perkins Plaza behind City Hall. Birdwalk on the Riverwalk, a hike and discussion, will take place on December 7th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. at Glendale Narrows Riverwalk. We're offering Holly Jolly Breakfast with Santa for kids and their families on December 7th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Arsac Paseo, which is between Wilson Avenue and Broadway. We have a Parents' Day Out to give parents an opportunity to go holiday shopping on December 8th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Pacific Community Center. And the Holiday Tea in Japan Culture Day will take place on December 15th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Brand Friendship Garden and Tea House. And then we are going to be back here in this meeting room, Municipal Services Building, room 105, for our next Parks Commission meeting on December 16th.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next is item 4, oral communications. I don't have any cards. At 5 is consent items. A is approval of the minutes of the Commission regular meeting held on October 21st, 2019.
I'll move the minutes.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded? Eberly? Thank you. And all in favor? Say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, action items. A, selection of officers at 1 president, at 2 secretary.
Okay. All right, so
If you,
I need to open for nominations, is that correct?
actually, President Pro Tem Wolfson, if you would please turn over the meeting to me, and I will entertain nominations for the office of president, and then the newly elected president will then run the rest of the meeting and take nominations for secretary.
Okay, then I turn it over to you.
Thank you. So the business before the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission is the selection of a new president. I will now entertain nominations for that office.
I move to nominate Commissioner Wilson.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Okay. Seeing that there's no further nominations, I will proceed with a roll call. Commissioner Babayan?
Yes.
Eberly?
Yes.
Kalfayan?
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
and Wolfson.
Yes.
I now declare Commissioner Wolfson the duly elected President of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. Madam President, the task before you now is to open the floor for nominations for Secretary.
Okay. I hereby open the floor for nominations for Secretary of the Commission. Can I nominate somebody?
I would nominate Commissioner Kalfayan if he is willing to serve.
Is it hard work?
I believe you've done it before.
I'll accept it.
I second.
Okay. Any other nominations?
Yes, there are no other nominations. We will proceed to the roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Babayan,
Yes.
Eberly,
Yes.
Kalfayan,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
President Wolfson.
Yes. Okay.
I now declare Commissioner Kalfayan the duly elected Secretary of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I'll just take a moment to switch out your title.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Are we ready for our
Next item is 7, reports, information only at A is Youth and Family Services Annual Report.
Hi, good afternoon, President Wolfson, members of the Commission. My name is John Malakian, and I oversee the Youth and Family Services section based at a Pacific Community Center, and I'm here to present the annual report. I'm just going to dive right in. Youth and Family Services section operates out of Pacific Community Center located at 501 South Pacific. Hours of operations are 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. We serve youth up to the age of 17. Assisting parents, guardians, and siblings of those youth. We also help adults 18 to 21, transitioning out of foster care, young mothers, and GUSD students. More about the program: we do youth outreach, information and referral services, case management, teen drop-in with a recreation component, transportation and utility assistance, community engagement with teen volunteers, and community outreach. We work closely with the SARB committee, which is the School Attendance Review Board, the County of Los Angeles Probation Department, and the Child Welfare and Attendance under GUSD's supportive services. Most of the referrals we do are for mental health, kids suffering from depression, anger management, employment issues, gang intervention, drug prevention, health and wellness. If they're struggling with anything at home, we try to assist. If they're struggling with their education or their housing. We have our case management program, which is the JUST program. It's the Juvenile Ultimatum Services Training, which focuses on balance and restorative justice, community services learning, community protection, and competency development. Most of the offenses range from curfew, staying out too late, possession of tobacco, drug paraphernalia, assault, vandalism, theft, truancy, and graffiti. Most of them are very minor offenses, first-time offenses. So we bring them in and try to help out. Our teen night out component is where the kids come in and get to do the recreation. You can see they play basketball. They get to use the activity room, play pool. On one of the nights we had a large screen we took outside. They played FIFA soccer, which they really enjoy. They played a basketball out there. So there's a recreation component. And then there's the second part of it, which is our teen night out workshops. Some of the topics we focused on are leadership development, what you need to know about vaping, college scholarships and financial aid, university versus community college, youth employment, fitness and nutrition education, cyberbullying, them knowing their rights, and financial responsibility. In fact, we just did the Know Your Rights last month. Last year, former Commissioner Osturian mentioned maybe focusing on a few of the more hot-button topics that were going on in the high school. So we made a concerted effort to add vaping as a big issue. We've all known it's becoming a big problem. And cyberbullying, really getting control of social media and how our kids are using their phones and some of the things going on with how they kind of correspond with one another and how things get bigger and more difficult to deal with as they go. Some of the partners of Youth and Family Services, the GUSD, Child Welfare and Attendance Office, the Glendale Police Department, the Glendale Library, Pacific Clinics, County of Los Angeles Probation Office, Adventist Health, D.D. Hirsch Comprehensive Community Health Center, the Glendale Federal Credit Union, Friday Night Live, Glendale Communitas, GYA, and the Glendale Human Relations Coalitions. We have other partners as well that are developing as we go. This year it's actually our 4th annual teen photo contest. We had 2 categories that our teens submitted. I thought these were 2 of the most beautiful pictures. We had, I consider this beautiful in Glendale, and I can only find this in Glendale. And so they submitted all their requests, and then the top 10 submissions got to go to the Speed Zone in Los Angeles, where we gave them an all-you-can-eat pass. They went to go-kart riding. They got to use the video games. We just wanted them to participate and show them some of the advantages of if we do have an Instagram contest or something going on, we love their participation. So they had a really good time. This year we were able to add a transportation component to the Youth and Family Services section. In March of 2019, the Youth and Family Services section started collaborating with the International Institute of Los Angeles to begin providing local area youth and their families with bus tokens. Currently, we have 18 ongoing clients, which is quite an upgrade considering we didn't have it previously. It's given our youth an opportunity to come into the center and ask us for support, whether it's transportation, and also we were able to add a utility bill assistance program with HEAP, which is the Home Energy Assistance Program, on May 21st. We did have 13 families participate. 6 families submitted paperwork. Ultimately, 3 families were funded for a total of $975, which doesn't seem like a large amount, but ultimately those families wouldn't have gotten that support otherwise. And because it was the inaugural time that we did it, we hope that as we continue to offer these types of services, Youth and Family Services can continue to grow and apply for more grants just because of the services we're already providing. Our community engagement with our team volunteers, which is a magnificent component of the program. The team volunteers participate in numerous events and programs throughout the city. They help at the camps. They did the Verdugo Mountain 10K, National Night Out, Spring Extravaganza. At Pacific, they help with the Cesar Chavez event, Riverwalk Cleanup, Summer of Soccer, and the Fall Festival. It goes a long way to have them coming in and really helping out with booths and supporting all of our events. It's obviously a cost savings, but ultimately it gives them a chance to learn what it takes to be a staff and work for the city of Glendale if they choose to down the line. It's a great experience they can put on their resumes as well. Some additional photos of community engagement. The one on the left was National Night Out. We were donated with 300 hot dogs, I believe, so they helped with the wrap-ups and the distribution, and we had Kool-Aid going, and we had, it was a very fun afternoon. And then on the right, we had volunteers helping out at the library for one of their functions. Some of the statistics from Youth and Family Services, most things stayed pretty consistent. Volunteers were pretty even. Our duplicated clients at Teen Night Out stayed pretty consistent. Our just clients stayed pretty consistent. So overall, adding the transportation and utilities seemed to be a nice upgrade, and hopefully we can add more. We've done a few additional things recently that we'll be able to report next year that you all will see because we're trying to grow and push the program along. Our fiscal impact, again, nothing major to change. We had a little bit of cost savings overall in the general fund, but the 501 is collapsed anyway, so it won't even be there next year. It'll just be one expense altogether. Our community outreach, we have a My Glendale Teens Instagram page, which we try to make major use of. Anything teen related, but we've tried to expand out. We want everyone to share, whether it's the ice skating rink or other events going on in the library. We want to make sure that everybody can kind of use our Instagram to promote programs. We obviously use PeachJar. I try to work very closely with the school district. I make it a priority to share all my information with their public information officer, so she's aware of what we're doing in our centers, so that the kids are coming in aware of what's going on that night. A lot of the time, the parents want to know in advance what's going on in the workshop. What are you going to be discussing exactly, whether it's PD helping out or fire coming in to do something. So this is our way of communicating with our public a little more concisely and clearly on what's going on those nights. For more information, they can contact me, John Malakian, at 818-937-7247, or they can email me at jmaghaguian@glendaleca.gov. Any questions?
I actually have a question.
Sure.
I noticed that earlier in the presentation when you were talking about the kinds of offenses that the kids have committed,
Yeah.
I was wondering about how this relates to, is this like a diversion of kids from like the juvenile system, or
Yeah,
can
so-
you talk about that?
Yeah, sure, of course. President Wilson, we get our referrals from the LA County Probation Department. So they have their probation officers, and they'll refer them over to us, and they'll tell us how many hours they need to serve in the facility. And some of the restorative stuff that we're working on while they're there, and we want them to feel comfortable in the facility. So we go out of our way to not only give them tasks that, we don't just want them to clean up. We put them out into the programs. We make sure they're working with the staff so we can restore their mindset. Because a lot of the times they're coming in, it's always bad. Something bad has happened. This is not going to be easy. We're not going to enjoy. We try to make sure that they understand they're in a recreation facility and they're helping programming, whether it's with the youth or with the teens or whether it's a senior program, whatever the case is. So they refer to us. We get those hours. They're signing in and out. We keep very close eyes on them. There's always a case manager on duty. In fact, hours that I reported from 8:30 to 5:30 as hours of ops, those are extended as well. I get in at 8, so if there wasn't actually something going on at 8 o'clock in the morning, or even before if I needed to, we make ourselves available, and we have a case manager that stays at the site till 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And then our teen night outs are on Friday. So a lot of the teens will come out, they'll get out of school about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then they'll come into our teen night out for a fun Friday night.
So these are kids that have not been sentenced, or they're not in, like, living in juvenile hall or something.
I think it's more along the lines of their minor infractions. They got caught vaping, they got caught smoking, they have 20 hours to work off. We're the perfect place to do it. Because I think we can redirect them to understand that they're just wasting their own time. The effort that they're putting forth to be childish and not pay attention to homework. And sitting on the SARP committee, I get an opportunity to really see kids, they're lacking a little bit of motivation. You got to kind of nudge them a little bit in the right direction and help them. My angle is always, well, what are you going to do when you graduate? When I sit on those SARP committees, I think I've become kind of the how do you find a job guy. We're actually extending ourselves to do resource fairs at our local high schools. We have one coming up in January, and we're hoping to make it a district-wide thing where we take your resources, we take all the City of Glendale resources that the teens could take some advantage of, and we're going to take it to them, whether it's being a fire cadet or a police cadet or working in the libraries, or for us working in parks. I'm going to do it in January with the thought process being we hire in February and March. And I'd love for those young folks coming out of high school to have a little direction. Sure, they got a little bit of trouble, but it's not the end of the world. And if we can get them to fill out their applications properly and take a little bit of time to write down that they babysat their brother, or they coached a youth soccer team, or they did something along the way, if they don't get it from us, I'm not sure someone's providing them the know-how on how to fill out an application properly. And again, we all see them, and sometimes we just look and there's nothing there as far as experience levels go. But when they came to us and they volunteered or they had hours to work off, that's experience that they're not really relating to what they can apply to get a job, or at least try to get a job. So we do our very best to, and I've sat in on some of the GUSD restorative circles, and I see what they're going through and what the kids are dealing with the mental health and the vaping and all the major hot topics. So I try to keep my ear to the ground, and because I want to add workshops that are really relative to what's going on now. Not something that we did 2-3 years ago. Maybe there's something more relevant that we haven't tapped into yet. So they're the ones that are going to tell me that. That's why I try to ask them, like, what would you like to see as a workshop? Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
How closely do you work with their families? How do you know the families?
We do.
Do you get to know them? And
Yeah, the just clients we definitely do, because that's more case management, and we want to make sure the parents, a lot of the times the parents will, part of our initial intake will be with the families, of course, because we need their approval to go ahead and do what we need to do, because their kids are known for not filling out their responsibilities, leaving early. They'll have issues. So we bring the families in. We make sure they understand these are the days when we're going to want them to be here. These are the hours that they need to be here. They need to sign in properly with the case manager. They need to sign out properly with the case manager. And if we catch them doing anything outside of what we deem to be normal, they're the first people we're going to call and let them know it's not working out. They're not following the rules. And we only want to show so much flexibility because they've already shown that they're going to have infractions. So it's a fine line you walk between being flexible and being stern, Yeah, so we collaborate with parents, definitely.
Have you ever looked at sort of the cost savings to the city of doing these kinds of interventions?
Not necessarily, but it's something I've thought about. How much money how much money would we save by, as far as bringing them in and having them participate and help
By
out?
encouraging them at this stage, what you might be avoiding in the future in terms of cost to the city?
It's a great question, and I don't mind looking into it, because I think that if we were able to turn some of these kids into employees down the line, because we are spending 20, 50, 80 hours helping them figure it out. Like, you know, what I hang my hat on punctuality and responsibility. I tell my staff all the time, if you're there on time and you're responsible with the duties we've given you, you won't have any issues. And if you do have them, that's what the supervision is there for. We'll come flying in. But ultimately, we want to teach them that before they get the job. Be there where you're supposed to be. Be there the entire time. And if you have an issue, if there's an issue with a parent, or if you have a complaint of some sort, we want to know about it before it gets to become a big deal down the line. Maybe we can talk to the parents, maybe we can talk to the families and try to get things squared away. But that's something I will investigate. I think that's a good question. I don't have the answers, obviously, but.
I have one more general question. I noticed that some things are reported as duplicated and others are unduplicated. What's the rule for that? Like, how do you decide which way you're reporting it?
Well, Teen Night Out is duplicated because it's a lot of the same kids coming in. Just clients will be unduplicated because they're first time coming into the building because their probation officer just gave them 20 hours. We've never met them before. It's their first time in the facility. It's kind of how we differentiate. Like the transportation assistants, those are unduplicated clients. We've never served those clients before. The PACE HEAP program, those are brand new people coming into the building, brand new families, so they'll be unduplicated. But next year, if that same person comes back into the facility and applies for the HEAP assistance, they'll be a duplicated client. Yeah.
Looking at the participation information, is that limited by availability? I'm concerned or would like to know what the capacities are that you have in these programs.
For Teen Night Out, the objective is always to try to get above 20 or 25 teens per Teen Night Out. When we do a workshop, we'd like that to grow even more, and that's why I was saying the importance of making sure that the workshops are valuable to the kids, because they may come to Teen Night Out, but they might not want to hear about healthy nutrition that day. They don't want to sit through that. So they'll go play basketball, or they'll sit downstairs and play we can't force them into the workshop. So ultimately the goal is to get 20 or 25 teens in there and grow the numbers. But that's going to take a major effort in getting out to the high school and middle school campuses. We did a lot of the back to school nights. I think the Youth and Family Services section went out to all the Glendale schools, plus all the middle schools, plus I want to say all the high schools. And with the resource fairs that we're going to put on at the high schools, we feel like we're really trying to make sure all teens, in fact, on Wednesday, I'm going to go to Hoover High School and do their Tornado TV and make sure all the kids know about the resource fair. I've already been on campus twice to talk to them about it, to make their morning announcements about it. My wife actually works there, so I get an opportunity to get to know some of the kids a little more closely. And so by going on their TV, by doing that at GHS, hopefully at Clark and Daly and CV, we'll get to reach all the kids in the community. And if they're interested, they'll find me and they'll tell me, what more can I know, or what more can I do, and how can I be involved? So the idea is to get out to the high schools more and try to grow the numbers, and the middle schools too.
No, I appreciate the efforts to increase participation in the programs, but specifically for the case management or the JUST program, are there limiting factors? Are you able to provide service for everyone that applies?
Anyone that is referred to us by a probation officer, we'll take as long as they are within our criteria of age and requirements. Of course, we're going to need to do an intake. We're going to want to meet the families, and if there's a major offense that we don't feel comfortable with, then we would go to our administration and ask them their thoughts and how we all feel about it. But we would not restrict someone from coming in and working off their hours that we can help. I think that's the whole point of case management. I mean, you're going to get some youngsters that they're not getting the advice at home, or mom and dad are busy working, 2 jobs. I see it at SARB all the time. Single parent, 2 jobs. Kids they're not showing up to school on time. They're not actually going into the classroom. So that's affecting everything: attendance, behavior. How are they gonna find a job going down the line? So we try to say no. We want to bring everyone into the center and help. You guys are looking at Sebag. Is there something more?
President Wilson, members of the commission, my name is Sebag Aravigan, Senior Community Services Supervisor, overseeing John and our recreation section. Commissioner Michaels, to answer your question, it's not a matter of capacity. It's not like we're short on staff where we can't accommodate more participants. Every participant that comes to us that needs to work for community service hours needs to undergo a fingerprint live scan, such as like any other volunteer. Some of these kids are 14, 15 years old. They don't have a California ID or a passport or anything that we could check against when they do their live scan, which may prevent them from being a part of the program. So that's one process that unfortunately is not within our control. They need to meet that requirement. those that do have that type of identification are the ones that we eventually process and enter our case management program. So it's not a capacity issue in terms of staffing or anything along those lines. It's a matter of them having the required paperwork. Some kids have it, some kids don't. Some kids are willing. Some parents are willing to go get the California ID. Some parents are like, no, I'm not going to waste my time for whatever it is. I'll work off the hours somewhere else. I hope that answered that question.
No, I appreciate that. The goal of what I was getting to is, do additional resources need to be allocated to these programs? Are the programs running at capacity, or is there a wait list? Those are some of the questions that I wanted to address. I understand that there are some people that may not qualify for the program or have other challenges, but I just wanted to see if there were any limiting factors within the department's control.
So, President Michaels, members of the commission, or sorry, Commissioner Michaels, in my opinion, we are not at capacity yet. There's definitely an opportunity to grow in terms of facility and logistics. What we have at Pacific Community Center, we are not at that maximum capacity yet. So there is an opportunity to grow. Our biggest challenge in the past has been advertising to the population and creating more interest, which is why we created that Instagram account a couple of years ago, which is why John and his team is going out and doing heavier outreach in the local junior high schools and high schools to get the word out about youth and family services and the programs we offer. So with that regard, there's opportunity to grow, and the programs have an opportunity to grow. We've been talking about making it, instead of a bi-weekly program, a weekly Teen Night Out program, maybe changing the night of the week as well and having it at Maple Park Community Center as well. So we're looking at those types of avenues to increase and engage more participants. So facility-wise, building-wise, we're fine. We're well within our means. We have room to grow. It's getting the word out and having people come back and having our participants come back.
Thank you. That does address my question as far as capacity. I appreciate the efforts to increase engagement.
Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7B, section activity reports at 1 is recreation and community services.
Good afternoon, President Wilson, members of the Commission. My name is Salvador Garavidian, Senior Community Services Supervisor. I'm going to do the Recreation and Community Center Monthly Activity Report for the month of October. See if I got it right. All right, so October, we had a couple of special events, starting with our 3rd annual Fall Festival at Pacific Community Center, which took place on October 19. We had over 450 participants at the event, which took place from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We had a food truck, a petting zoo, pumpkin patch, Glendale Rocks climbing wall, and Luna Dance Academy performed during the event and sponsored the DJ for that event. On October 26th, we had our Shane's Inspiration My Play Club at Maple Park Community Center from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Over 150 participants enjoyed the new playground and networked with each other. We also had crafts and pumpkin decorating during the event. Same day, on October 26th, we had our One Glendale After School Youth Sports Program Championship Day at Pacific Community Center's multi-use artificial turf field. Cerritos finished the season in 4th place. Edison Elementary finished in 3rd, Marshall in 2nd, and John Muir Mustangs hosted the championship trophy. Also, Crescenta Valley High School's choir and their Junior Air Force ROTC participated in the event by singing the national anthem and presenting the colors. On November 2 and 3, we had the 10th Annual Glendale Health Festival at Pacific Community Center, where over 400 people received dental screenings, including cleanings, extractions, cavity filling, vision exams, and those that needed glasses were able to pick up glasses during the event later in the day. We had blood screenings, flu shots, hearing tests, one-on-one talks with physicians, the experts in various topics, and those that needed any kind of additional screening that went to an exam room. And LA County was there providing flu shots, and it was a 2-day event from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday and from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday. At our community centers, in collaboration with State Senator Anthony Portantino's office, we had a Stop Senior Scams presentation where seniors ages 65 all the way up to 100 were actually performing skips on various scams that they might encounter. On October 21 and 23, in collaboration or in partnership with Glendale Adventist Hospital, we had flu shots at the community centers, at SPAR and the Adult Recreation Center. We had an AARP driver safety course at the Adult Rec Center, and the seniors celebrated Halloween, of course, on October 31. Our Youth and Family Services section had their bi-weekly tea night out, and during the month of October, their workshop was Know Your Rights presentation in partnership with the Glendale Human Rights Coalition and Glendale Police Department. Our Students Training as Role Models program continued their weekly meetings. In October, they learned about respect, impromptu speaking, and shared inspirational stories. Their monthly field trip was to the Northern Sign Museum, and if you recall, during the month of September, they were learning about Impressionism, and the field trip tied what they were learning to the actual experience. And finally, they celebrated Halloween as well, and they did their traditional mummifying of the police officer by wrapping him with toilet paper. And then finally, our Trails and Open Space section, our Trails and Open Space programs had their Riverwalk Workday on October 12th, their Wilderness Workday on October 19th. We had an Urban Hike on October 5 in downtown Glendale. And we had a special workday on October 23 to accommodate 9 volunteers from Davidson Hotels. And then on Friday, October 25th, we had our Friday night lecture series about big felines of the foothills, which took place at Brand Studios. 37 people participated in that event. And then on Saturday, October 26th, the Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation held its first campfire of the fall season. And the lecture was Creepy and Crawly Critters. About 22 people participated in that event, which talked about various animals found in the LA Basin, from bats to rattlesnakes and tarantulas. And that concludes my presentation, if anybody has any questions. Thank you.
I don't have a question, but you know I have provided encouragement and hopefully appreciation for the reports, the presentation that goes into it, the photography. The monthly activity reports are exceptional. Looking at this one, it gives me a good feeling of what happened, even in a recap of many of the events that I've been to. And I now know, talking with staff that are there, they're paying more attention to the photography, the photos they're taking, knowing how to promote and engage the public. So I appreciate the reports.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item?
Item 7B2, Park Services.
Good afternoon, President Wolfson, members of Commission. I will be presenting to you a couple of projects we completed in the past months. And the monthly activity report is for the month of October. We completed 101 work orders for special projects, of which 66 were completed by groundskeepers, 2 by pesticide applicating team, and irrigation repair crew completed 33 work orders. Total labor hours, 914. For the projects, at Brand Park, we had a small project of the fly bar at the playground. As you know, every playground that has the fly bar, which is the surfacing, safety surfacing for our playgrounds, requires refilling annually at a cost of, per facility, shipment alone could range from $2,500 to $3,500. And so this year at Brand, we had shown you some in the summer. This was missed the first round. We followed up with it. Brand, this is the playground west side of the restroom. We have 2 playgrounds next to each other by the playground area, east side of Brand Park. Second, at the sports complex, if you've been to the sports complex past couple of months, you would have noticed there were a lot of the planters and the tree wells had trees that were removed and had died. So this project was to replant those trees and those planters, as well as change some of the landscaping in the parking lot. We started with, there was one tree that fell during the winds. We started with those and clearing up some of the shrub beds, yanking everything out that was overgrown, then stump grinding. That is Felipe, and yes, that stump grinder is actually of the same size as he is. It's a large stump grinder. And we have to stump grind quite a few feet below to be able to replant in that same location. As you can see, these are right next to the sports complex offices. We planted 3 trees along the way. And then in the parking lot, Since we're planting 24-inch boxes, we planted olives. They're non-fruiting olive trees. Same as what they had in that location. As you notice on there, there's a square drawn where the box is supposed to be, marked, and we use our backhoe to dig everything up, plant the trees. And after planting the trees, some of those areas irrigation was changed to the pop-ups to be able to cover the entire area, and minor planting. As normally, a couple of the points, the corners of the parking lot entrance in the middle, we wanted to lay out the landscaping and then have it planted and mulched. So the sports complex should have in the parking lot a new landscaping if you visit it in the coming weeks. This is 5 different areas of the complex as completed. In Artsakh Avenue, we traditionally do some work on Artsakh Avenue. The landscaping we manage via our contractor. Some of the planting we've shown you in the past we had done in-house. But on a seasonal basis, we work with economic development in changing the banners. So if you recall, they recently had Dia de los Muertos event at the facility, and the banners our staff hang. So this was just a very small project, but wanted to let the commission, the public know that we're also involved, not just in our parks, but across the city in a lot of locations. And these were hung right before the event. As a matter of fact, these have been taken down now. We're working on holiday decorations at Artsakh, which will follow Thanksgiving weekend with the City Hall complex. Dunsmore Park, the baseball field. This is one of the major overhauls we did at the baseball field. Some of the work was completed at night. The infield was completely resodded. We removed existing sod, got everything laser leveled. Once it was graded and laser leveled, we brought a contractor in to do the infield sod, as well as a few different patches in the outfield. The remaining outfield was completely it was mowed down very low. It was detached, leveled, and seeded. This is a picture of the outfield right after installation. And these are the 2 areas, I'm sorry, that was the infield. These are the 2 areas in the outfield that was sodded. The rest of it, as you can see, is all brown because everything was mowed down to the base. After it was leveled, this picture shows it actually seeded and overtop dressed, ready for it to come up. But what we experienced in October is a lot of heavy winds. We may not have experienced it down South Glendale, but at Dunsmore, the winds were very heavy. So what it created on a daily basis is a mess such as this one. Every corner of the park, what we were most concerned with was the actual field. We lost a lot of seed and the top dressing that were blown over all over the place, which resulted in a lot of bare areas after the job was done and the seed not coming up at the speed that we wanted to. But luckily, we were able to work with our recreation team. We bought an extra month at this facility by shifting some of the players to other facilities. And after we touched it up again, redressed it, these are still pictures of the damage from the winds. Had to go back and redo some of the areas. This is what the field looks like right now. This was about a week ago. And this is, as of today, what the outfield looks like with fresh mowing that was done today. So we slowly, after the seed especially is laid and it starts growing, the mowing is very delicate. You have to take very good care of the way you're mowing it so you don't damage the turf or the new grass that is coming up, the baby grass. So a couple more mowings. I believe by the end of this month, we'll be able to turn it over to our team so they can start using it 1st of October. We have a number of projects ongoing right now. We have the fencing project over at Maple Park, the perimeter fencing. It started on Friday. Our staff finished a complete redo of the irrigation. We had to pull the irrigation in by a foot to allow for the fencing to go in. As you know, we talked about the shade structure or one of the picnic areas at Maple. It is being manufactured right now. Everything is in line. We're hoping that the manufacturing will be done mid-December to allow for 2 weeks of it being installed so we could have it for Christmas. If not, worst thing would be the first week of January is when we'll do the installation because the company is closed the week of Thanksgiving to New Year's. We also have the Heritage Playground is ongoing right now. It is under construction. They're doing the demo this week, and hopefully by next week we'll have most everything completed, likely be able to open that project Thanksgiving to our public. That is it for my presentation this month. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer for you.
You and Mr. Bulanikian talked about Phase 3 at the complex. What are we putting? What is the Phase 3 consist of?
If you're referring, Commissioner Kalfine, if you're referring to the sports complex Field 3 project, Mr. Bulanikian highlighted, we want to convert that field from natural turf to artificial turf, similar to what we did with sports complex Field 1. If you visited Field 1, it is in immaculate shape. everybody wants to play on that field. It allowed us to construct it to be able to play for baseball as well as soccer field inlaid on the turf. It helps us save significant amounts of water and the labor that we have to put in mowing and fertilizing and seeding the field. And if we have to renovate, usually we have to take the fields down for about 2 to 3 months minimum. With converting the artificial field, the natural turf field in Field 3 to artificial turf field, we're going to gain significant hours of play. We're going to be able to play right after rains. Just all the benefits that come along with converting natural to artificial turf fields. So that's the project for Field 3, which is the closest to the parking lot baseball field. It'll be done for softball and soccer. And we have some teams that practice as baseball. We'll have a mound, portable mound, laid out when the baseball teams are practicing as well.
That was in existing, that field was in existence, or we developed it?
It is current. We have 5 fields at the sports complex, 3 baseball fields, baseball, softball, and 2 soccer fields. As you know, the 2 soccer fields are already artificial turf. Field 1 has been converted recently, about a year now, a little over a year. And we're looking at doing the same to Field 3. Some of our challenges are, when it rains, we talked last year when we redid Field 2, when it rains, given that the sports complex was built on a landfill. It was filled from the freeway expansion to freeway expansion. It is not the ideal soil composition for us to be able to grow grass. And with soccer play and year-round activities, very busy sports complex, it makes it challenging to keep the fields open and playable and very safe year-round with nonstop. With this approach, I think we'll be able to expand at least 2 to 3 months annually of play on the fields.
Thank you.
All right. If you have no more questions,
All right.
thank you very much.
I think if there's no further business, we're adjourned.